Mother's Day, Mother's yours to the board.
Hello. Welcome once again. We are here with the Woww Podcast where we are focusing on a daily of your health, body, mind, and spirit.
Sorry about that. Because I'm actually trying to go live on other places.
No, you good.
I'm not. That's
I'm
not
just gonna do
right.
my re-intro. Don't worry about that.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
First of all, let me cut the Bluetooth off. Okay. Then we finna go live. This is my fault. I jumped the gun.
Because I thought that one was my little book.
Yeah, go.
No.
I just said go ahead.
I'm glad you're gonna edit all that out.
I have to now. I'm the one that made the mistake.
You are good. This one and this brand is good too. How's that? You did good with your good and last job.
Okay. What is going on here? They won't let me. I know I can go live because I've done it before. All right. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll go live on Instagram. You can't stop me on IG.
Wait a minute. Are we gonna go live for live?
No. We are, but they only going to see me.
Oh, well, you want me on there, okay?
I'll make it that you can be on there. I keep talking about you and your show, and a lot of people are interested in your greatness.
Are they? Okay.
Oh yeah, they love your show. They listen. Yeah, it's queen. All right, now you can start. You know what? I can even do you one better.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hello. Welcome. It is your host, Jaquell, for the Woww Podcast, where we focus every day on your health, body, mind, and spirit. And today I'm so excited. I get excited when I have awesome people join me. And, he's such a humble person, but yet he's still absolutely amazing. So you have to understand, like, when people are placed in your corner as a supporting cast,
Okay.
it helps you to really go forth in your endeavors and your journey and to continue to fulfill your purpose.
Okay.
So this young gentleman,
ain't nothing young over here.
don't let the salt and pepper fool you.
Don't let the grays fool you.
Don't let the grace fool you. So I want to give him a proper introduction, but this is a person that doesn't need an introduction.
Okay.
But we are dealing with
it.
You like that?
I'll take it.
Okay. This young man has been a radio personality for 20 plus years, and he's worked with some of the greatest. He's Milwaukee's own. He's a government official and entrepreneur. He's an awesome producer. So if you know about it, you know about it, right?
Yeah.
He's an amazing father.
Oh, thank you.
You know what? I'm
That
over
one,
you.
that one, I think holds more weight for me than
Than
anything.
anything that
Yeah.
I give you accolades
Anything
for.
is being a great
When I
dad.
say this man is an amazing father, if there's something going down, he could be in the middle of a podcast, in the middle of work. He's going to pause to do whatever he has to do for his children. I think that's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
We need Black men like that in our culture.
Thank you.
Um, but something that really started him to even started this genre of the podcast network, he was a guy who was suffering from depression.
Yes.
And at one point in time, he decided to start this podcasting network that we know of, TDR
Right.
Podcasting Network,
Right.
to help others that were in that same position, or for those that, once again, I use that term, suffering in silence. And because of those things, we are introduced to the government know him as Antonio Luckett.
I'm only laughing because that's so funny.
But we call him Tone. We
Tone.
call him TDR. We call him the
Tone.
man,
It's Mr.
the
Tonedef.
producer, Mr. Tone. You know, he's a great establishment in our community. And
Thank
so
you.
I'm so humbled and overjoyed to have you, because this is my producer. Yay! Clap, clap, clap.
I'm gonna have to hire
Sound
you.
effects right there,
I'm
but-
gonna have to hire you just to follow me around and tell people because you did a better job than I could ever do about myself.
Stop.
No. No, for real, because like you said, I started TDR on the back of going through something major. A lot of people don't know the story of how I started. It's funny part is because I'm actually part of a cohort program right now called Rise MKE.
Okay.
And we're currently working on our pitch deck right now. It's like the part where you stand in front of a bunch of people and basically tell them why your business should be getting money and what's so phenomenal about it. And in part of it, we're putting our personalities and our personals behind it. So recently, I've really had an opportunity to sit down and have to publicly talk about why I started this. I've done a few episodes here and there throughout my year, my 14 years of doing this. Kind of told the story of how it began, but I never really dove into it until I have recently. Long story short, because I know you got a slew of things you want to know.
Yes,
In
I
October of like 2021, not 2021, 2011.
Okay.
In October of 2011, I lost 2 jobs and a home
Oh, wow.
simultaneously. And the housing market was trash at that time. Every single thing was upside down. So I was forced to, me and my wife at the time, was forced to move in with her family. They were not prepared for us to move in. So to go from being a breadwinner, a provider,
Right.
someone who society says it's the man's responsibility to take care of everything, to being forced to live in an extended family's basement because you being the only male living in the house outside the father figure, it was kind of like, what the hell just happened? To try to save my marriage, I went on ahead and accepted that move instead of going back to my parents because I knew personally us living in 2 different places would have just, whole thing would have just threw out the window. It wouldn't have worked in regards to it. We couldn't have saved it. So I bit the bullet and said, you know what, I'll move with you. It was hard to find a job at that time. Like unemployment was at like 9% at the time, where the points where either you were overqualified and we're not going to hire you, or you're underqualified because you don't have this degree or that degree, or which at the time, some of the jobs, you don't even understand why you're asking for a bachelor's degree to do an entry level job.
Come on.
So a lot of it really was very disheartening. Shout out to my brother Juan. He's who I do the Death Rush show with, the longest running podcast on TDR right now. He's like, hey, bro, let's go watch some local wrestling. Because he knew I was going through some things. He knew my mind wasn't stable. And he gave me a place where I can just go out and just completely forget about the world.
Right.
I didn't have to worry about what bills were due or how was I going to get my next meal or how I was going to pay for A, B, C, D. Bro just wanted me to drive there and worry about nothing for about 2 to 3 hours. While doing that, we kind of realized we have a niche for entertaining people.
Okay.
And it went from us doing that to saying, hey, we should start a podcast. And we did. And when I started the podcast, we were having fun. And I was like, I'm paying all this money. It wasn't really much money, but I was paying all this money to record one show a week. There's 6 other days where this is not being used. Let me go find 6 other people who got something they want to say. And TDR was born from there.
Wow.
And literally after that, all I do this for is to help other people and give a voice to the voiceless, as I like to use. So that's why TDR exists, and it's why TDR will still always be around. Because as long as I create a safe space for somebody to say, to work through their things, or just have a conversation that they feel needs to be had, I'm always going to have a reason to come in and turn on the lights here. That's how I feel about it.
So I want to touch on something that you said.
Okay.
You talked about how, when Juan entered,
You're right.
you were going through so much and you had someone that recognized that.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, we're starting when things started shifting. You said you lost your job,
2 jobs.
2 jobs in your home.
Right.
And then when did you realize you were losing not just your relationships from your working, but your connection with your community, your culture, because you're a radio personality, right? So everybody know who you were, but how was it that you were in this moment and you felt like you was losing connection? Because like you said, the separation from being independent of your own home to going to someone else's home.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. The minute I realized I was living in somebody else's basement was the minute I shut down from the world altogether. Like, because society does play a big factor in how we perceive ourselves, no matter how much we want to deny it. And when I was like, I'm used to you guys coming over by my house for us to kick it. I'm used to you guys coming to hang out us. We played video games. We hung out. We drink. We watched TV, wrestling, whatever it was that we were into at the time. It was all done at my house. That was the spot. So to lose all that, I never told anybody why we moved. Everybody just knew that the housing market, and I used the excuse of, well, the mortgage went upside down and we couldn't keep it no more, knowing that it wasn't the case. The friends of mine who knew I ended up losing my job, I even stopped hanging around them because I didn't want you to constantly remind me that I was going through. I lost my job. Right. I didn't want you to constantly be like, oh, well, we're going out to do A, B, C, D. And it's like, I can't, I don't have money in my pocket. I don't want to go. I didn't want to seem like the person who was leaning and using everybody. So I started locking myself away from society. I started being in the basement, being depressed, sitting in the house, just not dealing with society. If anybody gave me any kind of like shoulder to listen on, I basically trauma dumped on them and then would never talk to them again because I feel bad that I just told you all these things I went through. Wow. So I started pulling away from people altogether to the point where I could tell you I was not me. I couldn't tell you what me. I'm just now recovering and getting back to feeling like me. Wow. Now. Just now feeling like that, because even then, as my brand started to grow and I started working and being around other people doing what I was doing, I felt like it was imposter syndrome. I felt like, oh, I'm not as good as that person is over there. When I come to find out later on in life, you're looking at what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, I'm only doing this because that person's doing that. Now I'm not doing as good as them. Girl, I'm trying to learn how you do it. So it got to the point where it was like, it was the Spider-Man meme where I'm looking at you to do what you do because I'm not as good as you. And I'm just now getting to the point right now where I'm able to just like, you know what? I'm who I am and I'm damn happy with it. So it's a tough battle. It's a tough battle.
We're so thankful that there's been so many supporting cast later on. Right. Something that I wanted to ask you was there moments where you felt like you wasn't going to find like a sense of belonging or find your way back to Tone, finding your way back to this person? What actually pulled you through, you know what I'm saying, to get yourself back together?
I'm not going to lie to you. 2 things. my girls and my business.
Mm.
Okay. And the reason why I have to give them credit for that, because even with me and the wife, we also had our own issues. Because as I'm dealing with depression and things, I had to later on in life, after going through therapy, realize she was going through the same thing too. It just may not have looked it like the way mine's looked it like, or experienced it the way I experienced it. But she also had trauma too. She also had things to deal with too. And because I I was selfishly suffering. Okay. I have to
touch on that.
I'm getting there.
Ooh,
Okay.
selfish suffering.
I was selfishly suffering because reality is the man is supposed to be the provider.
That is true. That's what they say.
Reality is the man is supposed to be the provider. So when I failed as a provider, I kept all my pain to myself. I struggled. I put depression on me. I put failure on me. Okay. I suffered silently to myself. I wasn't going to allow you to help fix me because you're just here for the ride. Worry about you. Take care of you. Go do you. Get where you need to be at. Get what you need to do. I'm going to carry the weight of this trauma going through right now. You don't worry about that. Not realizing you got your own trauma you're dealing with. You had to move back in with your mom. You had to not only do that, but you had to bring somebody else. You have a marriage that you have to try to work and fix on in regards to it. You have a career. You're now, by definition, the financial provider until I'm able to get another job. So now you have to carry the weight of whatever bills and responsibilities we had. So there's a lot of stuff. Any decisions I made affected you just as much as it affected me, maybe even more, because now there's licensing situations that you have to worry about. So there was a lot of things that I did not look at from from my wife's perspective in regards to the beginning and the suffering. And as time went on, I started looking like, whoa, hold on. How are you? And that's where the girls came into play at. My daughters play a major factor because I have childhood trauma. Okay. Most black folks have childhood trauma. Yeah. You know, especially if you grew up in the 80s. You've seen some things. You've seen some things you shouldn't have seen. It may not have been your direct parents, but you've seen some things. So we all had childhood trauma. And she came from Chicago. So she got a different kind of childhood trauma than I did.
Right.
From being from Chicago. Because the 80s in Chicago was a completely different ball game. Whereas I came from, I won't say abusive household. I'll say that I came from a physical discipline household. Okay.
I like how you worded that.
That's a physical discipline household because I had to learn how to give my mom grace as well too.
Absolutely.
That was part of my trauma healing, is giving my mom grace in regards to the situation.
Got you.
I didn't grow up with my dad. I grew up watching my dad raise other kids. I have other brothers and sisters with my dad where he was a part of their lives, but he wasn't mine. And then even then, I learned later on in life that was a choice he made. So to choose not to be involved in my life, I had to learn how to deal with that. So when my kids were born, when my oldest was born, because she's getting ready to turn 13 next month. Gosh, she's about to turn 13 next month. That's wild.
That's why you're getting gray.
Nah, I was getting gray before that. These grays are self-inflicted. I tell you that right now. But no, she's little mini me, and she just reminds me to enjoy life. So that's one of the things that she does for me, which is why I say my kids. But when she was born, I really had to sit back and say to myself, what kind of dad do I want to be? Okay. I had a stepdad, so I won't sit here and lie and say I grew up without male role models, because I have uncles that poured into me while they were dealing with their own personal things. I had a Southern granddad who had a Southern mentality. So I got that instilled in me. I had a grandma who was Big Mama. So when Big Mama passed, life kind of went in different directions. I had an uncle who showed me what pouring into other people was. He never got married, but he stayed with the woman for as long as I can remember and helped raise her 13 kids that she came into the story with. And when he passed, there were so many stories about how he was such a great giver and a provider, and how he poured into the neighborhood like he was a phenomenal dude. So I had great male role models in my life, but the main male role model, which was my birth dad, still had an impact on me, because knowing you chose to raise these other ones and not me, those were answers I could never get, because the next time I had the opportunity to talk to you, well, the next time I had the opportunity to be around you, were the day that you were being put in the ground. So I never had that conversation. So I had to deal with that. So a lot of that. So as soon as tone is starting to come out and be comfortable who I am, I got this past situation that I had to battle with. So they put me back into a depressed state, because it's one of those like, okay, now what's next? I had to talk to my sister with my dad, and she had to explain to me, like, the story that you feel, don't get it twisted. Even though he was here, he wasn't good. Okay. My baby sister, shout out to her. She's graduated from Florida University. She actually has her biochemistry. She actually has a graduation dinner next week. Oh, please. I'm about to shut the studio down. I got to see my baby sister through. She's his last child. Okay. Our relationship was birthed off the fact of he's not here anymore. So unlike us, you've had him your whole life. So now there was another layer of, I won't even say resentment. You got an opportunity to enjoy him as a mature man who's learned from his mistakes. And now you lost him. Whereas in me, my sisters, my brothers, we didn't have an opportunity to fix things. My brother came to me one day after he turned 18, and my dad, separated from his mom. He was like, "Hey, Tony, I see what you mean now. The minute I'm grown, he doesn't want to be here anymore. He just pushed me to the side. He was only here to take care of me, because that's what providers are supposed to do." And I was like, "Bro, you're a grown man now, though. Why would you want him?" But not realizing you had him for 18 years. Yeah. So for him to walk away after being a very intricate part of your life, that's heavy.
That's heavy on you.
That's heavy on you. You're making life choices, and the person who you normally could be like, "Hey, what should I do? Hey, I got this situation. Can you bail me out?" It's not bailing you out anymore. So on one side of the coin, I'm still hurt. Like, bro, I just wanted to have a conversation with you. You were 20 years old with 2 kids on the way simultaneously. I get it. I get your struggle. You're not an adult yet mentally, and you have to be a father of 2. Not even with the same woman, 2 different women. That's tough, my guy. Yeah. I get it. I forgive you. That's all I want to tell him. Bro, I get it. I forgive you. I understand you not being around, because Lord knows I have one with the wife, and I'm struggling. So how did you do 2 different women? And I know my mama, and I know that was hard. I know my mama. I know that was hard in the 80s. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But I never got a chance to say that to him, and that made a big deal for me. So once my daughter was here, I said to myself, I'm not going to be nothing like my parents. I'm not going to be a person who disciplines physically. I have a girl. I can't be that. Yeah. I'm not going to rule with fear, because why? I know what it felt like to be a person who, I'm at school, I have a school bully, but I'm more scared of what my mom will do because I'm getting suspended than this fight with this bully. That's trauma when you think about it. That's some heavy trauma. It is. And that kind of made things a little bit difficult. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that with my daughter. Yeah. I'm gonna love on her. I'm going to allow her to speak. I'm going to allow her to be heard. Yeah. And once I got that mentality, I said, I'm put that in my business. And that's kind of became the platform with my network. You need to be heard. Yeah. Whatever it is that you need to talk about, first of all, you need to say it so you can hear what you're going through. Yeah. Because a lot of us don't really take accountability of what we go through. Come on. We just live. We just go to the next day. It's only going to last for a while. Trouble don't last always. Yeah, but you got to understand how you got in this trouble. You got to understand how to navigate this trouble.
That is true.
You got to understand why it's important to get on the other side of this trouble. I can't get from here to Hawaii by just walking. So I got to go through them rough waters one way or another. Because it's paradise when you make it to Hawaii.
Okay, look nice.
Okay, but you got to get there somehow.
How we gonna get there?
How we gonna get there? We can't just put this boat here and just like wait until the current take us there, because you might end up in Japan.
Come on, sir.
But you got to figure out how you gonna get there, and that's kind of how I do this whole network. You being one of my clients here, you've experienced how I have those conversations.
Yeah.
And how
like we be in therapy. By the time I leave, I'll be like, yeah.
And it's so funny because when I'm in my class on Mondays, and we had a conversation about like brands and how do we present ourselves and whatnot. And I said, yeah, I sit down with my clients, and every time we talk, I give them the pricings. We talk about this, and they get a free therapy session. And they looked at me like, free therapy session? Like, yeah. You don't just come here to record and walk away. We're going to talk. We're going to figure out, based on what your show was about, we're going to build your show.
Yeah.
And when we build it, we're also building you. So there's never a time, and you are an example, that I have never sat down and did a show and you didn't walk out with learning something about yourself when it's all said and done. And that's kind of the motto of how I even had to sit down and do it myself. Like, I literally sat down with myself one day and was like, you know what? You're never going to get the apology or the answer from your dad. It's impossible. You're going to have to wait till you get to the afterlife to get that. And even then, who said y'all going to be in the same place? Okay. Hell, who said y'all going to be in the same heaven? Hell, it might be in a different heaven.
Now you going there. You're going there.
That's a whole nother conversation. But my mom's, she did the best she could based on what she had. So I had the conversation with her one day, and I told her, hey, there was things sometimes I felt like you didn't have to do it the way you did it. I didn't tell that to her because I wanted her to change the way she was.
Okay.
Raising me was done already. What do you need to change? You're a grandmother now. You automatically by default become gentler, because I've yet to see an angry grandma. But when you become a grandma, your whole mentality changes anyway.
Yeah.
Unlike with me, I can intervene when it comes to my kids. I can be like, no, that's not what you're going to do. I couldn't do that with me because you're my mom.
Yeah.
You know? So I am a lot more protective with her. But even then, I had that conversation with my moms. And I explained to her, like, hey, when you thought this is what it was. When you were here, this is what it was. These are the things I was doing. You, to this day, still perceive these scenarios when, in actuality, that's not the case. But you know what? I'm grown, so I can do something a little bit different that I couldn't do when I was a teen. I can step away from you.
Yeah.
I can go over here and let you sit with the thoughts of what I said. And either you're going to accept these new rules, or I can continue to sit over here. And over time, me and my mom's relationship got better because now she was forced to look at how I feel. Before, you didn't have to do that. I'm your mother. You do what I say, or you can get out of my house. What's the common threat that was being used? I don't do that with my kids. Well, they teenagers. I mean, they're not teenagers yet. They still a little young. But even then, I wouldn't do that. You don't like what I say? Why don't you like it? What problems you got with it? Let's figure out why this is an issue. Because these are my rules and my regulations. And I tell you why you have to do A, B, C, D, because this is the reason behind it. So if you still feel like it's a problem, let me hear why. Because it's still going to be my rules. Right. But I at least want to know why I still want to hear you out. Because maybe you are saying something that I don't know. I'm 45 years old. You're 12. There's a huge gap of reality between us. Maybe you know things I don't know. My daughter, my oldest, loves talking to me because I understand them. Yeah. So I'll be saying stuff and using words. I'd be like, Daddy, how do you know that? It's like, girl, don't let the grades fool you.
That's all you keep telling everybody. Don't let it fool you.
Don't let the grades fool you. I know some things. But their mom, she'd be confused. It'd be so funny. But, I parent differently. And because I parent differently, I'm different. I look at the world differently. I behave differently. I just made a post today. I'm working on an event for June, and I stopped in to a few local Black-owned businesses to establish those connections and whatnot. And I sat there and took a picture of myself. I was like, I'm actually okay with my imperfections. And then I posted that. And that's something new for me to say, I'm cool with who I am. I don't care if you don't like me or not. I'm cool with me. So yeah.
And is it because where you developed from, like, and I'm gonna kind of touch on something. You had a conversation with your mom of
Yes.
letting her know like some things that you did not like, some things you did
Yes.
not have, and now you're involving even we're past our 30s and we're getting to
Yes.
like a more mature state. You're saying I'm being comfortable with accepting who I am.
Right.
And when you say I made a post about imperfections, that's a big statement.
That is.
That's a big statement to say, you know what? It may not look good to you. And is that a part of your grieving process, or you overcoming? Because I don't want to say that you're depressed now. I want to say that you're overcoming. And if those are some of the tools, like what helped you to get, because I know you get tired when I say, but your radio personality. But these platforms,
Yeah.
society makes us think that when you're on certain platforms, you have to present a certain way, you have to
True.
look a certain way, you have to do certain things, you have to do this, you have to do that, da, da, da. And we're trying to stay within our means being on this platform.
Right.
So that we don't endanger anyone or endanger ourselves, or is this what the media look like? Oh my goodness, make sure, like I said, oh Lord, let me not cry too much, but make me go right. But how is it that you're able to, and what steps, let me back up.
Okay.
What steps have you chose to do? Because that's a big conversation to have with your parents,
Right.
especially your mama.
It was.
And you're still walking, you still walk that. Because I'm not gonna do that with mine. No, I'm messing you. Because my mother be like, oh, okay.
Okay, so fun fact, I kind of cheated a little bit because my mom is to the point right now in her life where she's bedridden.
Okay.
So her being able to leave and retaliate is not as prevalent as it used to be. Maybe 10 years ago, I might have had to say it over the phone, then block her. But in person, it definitely, it was a tough conversation to have.
How was it received in that moment?
Oh, it was not.
Oh, okay.
It was not. So
that's good to know.
Fun fact, the conversation started with me and my mom making a joke about something from our childhood. It was something that was going on. And I think I had made a post or I made a comment about something. I know exactly what it was. It was an episode. My mom used to watch the episodes all the time. She's starting to lose her memory a little bit right now, so she may not remember to watch them like she used to, but she used to watch them all the time. And it was one particular episode that I was on, and I was talking about how I had a gun. I was a little 22. I was a small little kid, had a small little gun. I had a 22. We had a 22 in our house. I kept it in the lower apartment because wasn't nobody occupying it. And I periodically went out and did what I need to do. One particular day where one of my bullies just got a little bit too far. Okay. Like I said, I was a small person.
When you say they got a little too far,
got a little bit too far.
I don't know what that means.
Just leave it right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just leave it right there. And I told her about the thought about using it. I didn't take it with me that day.
Gotcha.
I didn't take it with me that day. I didn't make it go that far, but it got to the point where it was definitely something that was an option. I didn't choose the option because I knew it wasn't the right option because I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
And she overheard that story. She never knew that. She never knew about that situation. She never knew about the gun being in the house. She never knew about any of that. So me and her was having a conversation about that. And in the conversation, she brung up well, why didn't you say something? You couldn't come to me. And I was like, I couldn't tell you that. And I gave examples of moments I tried to and how she reacted to it and whatnot. And it turned into a huge revelation for her of how I was navigating through life. And her whole thing about trying to keep me protected, which is why she removed me from so many different things, not realizing taking me out of these equations is what made things worse for me more than help.
Yeah.
Then the conversation got to I was doing the best I can.
Okay.
And not, removing that from her, because a lot of parents were just doing every day we do the best we can with what we had in regards to it. And I told her, I was like, well, sometimes I understand that, but sometimes there were things that you just did not have to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes there were things that were just not that serious, that did not have to go to that. Like physical discipline was not a necessity in regard to these situations. A simple conversation could have been had, and I guarantee you would have understood everything so much better. Like I was never a bad kid. I was just in bad situations. But you never gave me the benefit of the doubt that I was smart enough to know how to get up out that jam. You had a gifted child. Let me use my gifts and show you I'm damn good at what I do. But no, the minute something happened, you immediately assumed I caused it. This was my fault. And you shut me down.
Wow.
And to tell her that, she didn't receive it. My mom is a Gemini. And when my mom gets to a point of frustration, she gets super defensive. And she just wants it all to stop. So the shouting, the screaming, the cussing, all that starts to come out. And I was like, no, this time you need to hear this. And at that point in time, I put my foot down and was like, no, you are going to hear me. Because unlike other times, I would have to stay and accept whatever your answer was. I don't have to. And after that conversation, I didn't go see my mom for a couple of days. Then I came back. We picked up the conversation because my mom is notorious for holding on to a thought. We came back. I heard her through. We had the conversation again. Didn't come back around for another 4 days. When I did come back around, we had that conversation. But every single time we had the conversation, it de-escalated a little bit more than it was before. Because I'm now more mature enough to know how to control the conversations. Doing this has taught me how to control conversations in so many ways. So even as I'm starting, it's like, okay, I know my mom is going to say A, B, C, D.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to say
right.
it. So I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and let me feed her emotionally in a positive way first. Absolutely. Because this keeps coming back, not because of how I'm feeling, but it's because of how she's feeling about what I'm saying. So I had to learn how to basically heal her because I have to remind myself, just like my dad, who is a father of 2, raising 2 kids who are only 7 months apart with 2 different women. I also had to remind myself my mom was a teen mom. You know what I'm saying? My mom was a teen mom who only had brothers, who only had my mother, who only had her friends. So before you had a chance to even enjoy adulthood, you have to be a parent. So in the 80s, I keep bringing up the 80s, but if you lived in the 80s, you know the 80s it's a whole different game. Okay? So all of that, I had to learn that. I had to learn, once again, I had to stop being selfish with my struggle. I had to look at everybody else's struggle. I was like, we're all struggling simultaneously. I just happen to be the base of the tree. But once you grow, you look, moms, grandmas, granddad, uncles, dads, sisters, brothers, everybody had their problems they were going through. So what do? I take my gift. I tell everybody God gave me the gift of being the muse to everybody's story.
Okay.
You come to me, you tell me what you're going through. I'm going to tell you how to grow. And I'm really good at that. Example, you didn't want to do this show. We had our first sit down conversation. Hey, I tell everybody, we had our first conversation. And after that, not only did you have your show, but you came ready. You blew it out the water. I immediately got up on the phone. I called my friend and I was like, yo, I just got done recording the show. And it's probably one of the best episodes I have ever heard. And guess what? This is her first episode.
I can't even say nothing.
This is her first episode. She was like, I have never heard you say that about anybody you've recorded. So for you to say that, I got to hear this episode. And I let her hear it. She was like, this her first episode? It's like, yo, and on top of that, she's grieving. She was like, what? Boy, I wouldn't have said none of that if that was me. That's why this ain't your show.
This ain't your show.
This ain't your show. So this ain't your show. That's where we different at. And that's kind of what it is with me. Even my own show. I got two shows I do. I got the one I do with my brother, and then I got the show called Where I Come From, MKE, where the only requirement is to be where I come from. And we talk about everything. Lately, right now, I've been focusing and highlighting on a lot of businesses and events and things that are going on in the city. But I'm even going to pivot that. I'm now getting ready to do a series in regards to it called The Fear of Flying, where all I'm doing is talking to businesses, and we're going to talk about the dirty side of being an entrepreneur, the stuff that you don't see on TV, the stuff where here I am with this business and I was just on the news and I'm popular, but just 2 months ago, I was thinking about closing my doors because I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent. I want those stories because that's part of the reason why a lot of our entrepreneurs don't make it, because they don't know that
they don't see that side.
They don't know that the struggle is normal.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know that you're supposed to struggle. You don't come out the door successful. There's a difference between popularity and productivity. There are a lot of people out here who are successful because they're popular, not because they're doing the actual work as a business. Because once they're no longer popular, their brand no longer exists.
Yeah.
They didn't do the work.
That's so true.
And that's the difference.
And it's something that
you asked for this episode.
I know. It's just, no, I'm just taking it all in because this is so awesome. Like,
fun fact, you are the only person who I've ever said a lot of this stuff to out loud. So you're getting an exclusive right now.
A lot of people gonna get this because it's gonna be on the podcast, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be you're the only person.
I appreciate you. Because for me, like, you're and I people hate when I say, like, I just gotta pull the color card.
Okay.
You're a black man.
Oh, that's a big thing.
Who has vocally stated, "Hey, you guys, I was suffering from depression at a specific time," and then you're opening up and saying, "I had to go back to my parents to have some form of reconciliation." And yes, your father is no longer here, but you have to have that conversation with your mom,
right?
To say, like, okay, you may not realize this, but I'm paraphrasing, but you didn't realize this, Mom, but your physical discipline,
right,
caused a lot of trauma.
It did.
This and that and the third happened, and that helped. It sounds, what I'm hearing is that helped you process and move forward. Now, I guess my question is, I'm pretty sure you didn't think any of these establishments, any of these, because you have stuff set up to where when we walk in, we're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
No, we wouldn't know because you're always smiling, you're always laughing, you always got jokes. When we walk in the room, y'all, I'm telling y'all, you'd be like, "Oh, snap, what we listening to today? What we listening to today? Oh, the tones are set." Okay, listen to the name Tone. But nobody knows about your testimony of how you got over. Because I always tell people, I said, we need black men. We need black men. And a lot of black men, I'm going to hit it, suffer in silence.
Yes.
And I like how you said selfishly.
Yes.
You know, and we talked about this offline where I said, sometimes my husband didn't vocally tell me what was wrong with him.
Right.
But I knew something was wrong with him because I can feel him. My husband was a private person, so you know he was never going to bring in the home. He said, "This is my peace."
Right.
So even whether my husband say it verbally or not, I already knew. Let me go get the bath water ready. Let me get this ready. You know what? He probably not gonna eat dinner tonight, but I'm just gonna pack it up for the night because I just knew his steps. I knew everything. But even if he didn't vocally tell me everything, when he would lay on me or hug on me, when he say, "Baby, can you sing my song I like?" He didn't have to tell me what was wrong. I knew what it was, and I would just sing until almost, you know, like I call it like a David. How David was to Saul. Put him to sleep, and so that evil spirit would not try to subdue him.
Right.
And so for you, I feel like, man, like that is so empowering because when you talk about a black man suffering in silence, and then you're saying that sometimes we do it selfishly.
Right.
My question now, because I'm about to touch on something.
I got
Brace yourself.
It's I'm an open book at this point.
Do we not trust our partners? Do we not trust our wives? Do we not trust our family enough that it is a safe space to say, "Hey, I'm struggling"? Like you withheld information. Like, no, y'all. The reason why we're here is because I really lost my jobs. I lost this. I lost that.
Right.
Is it a power thing, or break it down to me.
Okay.
That was a lot.
No, it wasn't a lot. I'm just trying to make sure I convey
Process.
it. I processed it already. I processed it already. Ironically, a lot of conversations I had with myself. So a lot of
Oh.
things that you've asked me so far are things I've had help with myself. I'm
Mm.
very, very self-internalizing. Like I'm very good at like stopping and asking myself,
Yeah.
nigga, what you doing?
Okay.
like I would do that in the
Hold
heart.
up,
That's the
babe.
Sagittarius in me. We're overthinkers by nature. It's funny that you asked this because just yesterday I updated my social media cover page, and that says society's depiction of black men is the reason why most of us suffer in silence. Um,
Hold on. Let me say lie. Say that line again. Because wait, because listen, Tone. I know we're gonna be. We got to do another part too. But listen, what you're so society
mm-hmm,
wants to put a man on a certain level,
mm-hmm,
and that's the reason why the man is suffering
mm-hmm.
because
We can't meet the expectations of what you want us to be. And I specifically made mine say black men because I don't know what the world is like to be a white man because God didn't bless me to be one.
on that note, thank you all for coming. God bless you. Good night.
so so I can only speak from the perspective of what a black man has to go through because that's what I am. And it's so funny because anybody who asks me, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? I was like, I'm black. And I just leave it at that. I never put anything else to it. And most of the time people be like, I get it. Okay. No, because it's funny. Is that's my funny. That's my thing. It's funny. Damn, I gotta get back to the original question. Why, or how, the what's. Yeah, society puts us on a particular pedestal, puts us in a particular box that we have to perpetuate. Number one, black men are already targeted before they've even had the opportunity to walk out the house. As a child, we are not safe. All we have is each other, but society, especially on social media, has put black men and black women against each other, and we don't even know why we fight. We bicker about some of the most mundane and ignorant things known to mankind. We're arguing about $200 dates or whether or not somebody should be talking to somebody, or if this guy only makes $20 an hour, his girl finds somebody else. We argue about some of the dumbest shit in the black community. And because of that, if we are trying to become better versions of ourselves or trying to find our particular person, unfortunately, we do use social media as our measuring stick.
Yeah.
So a lot of times as men, we're out here changing and modifying ourselves for unrealistic expectations. So when we do fail, we don't have a support system sometimes. Our guys make funs of us. We joke, we laugh. We like, aha, nigga, you didn't do that. We got people who are waiting on our downfall. Do you know how many times that I've had people come back to me? I've had friends, family members, loved ones come back to me and was like, hey, somebody was talking bad on your name. And I was like, oh, for real? Well, whatever they said was a lie because I put everything out there anyway. So if they made up a lie, that just means I'm doing good at what I'm doing.
Right.
But when it comes to my family, a lot of times my family was part of my trauma. So I didn't know how to convey things to them. When it came to me and my wife and our situation, if I failed at something financially, I didn't tell her because, like I said, you're going through your own stuff. You got nursing school to pay for. You got to make sure the girls got A, B, C, D that needs to be done. All of these other responsibilities that belong to me, I can't tell you that I'm a month behind on my car note because that means money has to come from you to cover that. That's not on you. That's my responsibility. So I can't tell you I'm struggling over here. I can't tell you my job cut my hours last week. I can only just use that time to go find another job. I can't tell you that I recorded 12 different people this week and only 6 of them paid. I can't do that. And the question is why did I keep letting them record? Because they have a story that needs to be told. You know, so there was a lot of things that I couldn't tell because these were decisions I chose to make. These were selfish decisions I chose to make. Therefore, the struggle has to be selfish. I can't put that on your jacket, as I like to say. A lot of people, that's not your responsibility. Therefore, how can I lean on somebody when I don't even want you to know that I'm struggling?
Man.
I was working on my pitch for my pitch deck in regards to my class that I go to for my business. And we had to start putting our emotions into our conversations. It was like, hey, put a little bit of emotions in it, let them know. So I said, well, I'm toiling around with a new introduction. That way I can convey my emotions because I got the business side down pack of the pitch.
Right.
I can tell you everything about the business, but I can't tell you about me. Okay. So I had to start sitting down and talk about me. How did I get here? What I go through? And I opened it up with a story explaining about how Black men don't have a safe space to be able to go tell them. I opened it up with, think of your favorite Black man. And the last time you asked him how was he doing, what was the answer he gave you? He said, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. But keep it a buck, he wasn't any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to know why he didn't tell you that? Because we don't have a safe space to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Society also does something, and I hate with a passion as this exists. And this is another thing that's separating Black men from Black women when it comes to relationships and opening up is, unfortunately, every Black man can tell you about a time when a woman he opened up to weaponized his pain. All it takes is one woman to weaponize a Black man's pain, and he'll never open up to another woman again.
Right.
Never open up to another woman again. And the crazy part about it is the person who weaponized his pain doesn't have to be somebody he's dating. Could have been a sister, could have been his mother, could have been a cousin. Yeah. It could have been anybody. I told you something because I needed to share this with you, and you threw it back in my face. I'll never tell you nothing again. Never. It happened to me. I told a young lady about something I was going through. Because she was unhappy about something, she decided to weaponize it. Decided to go on social media and tell the whole world something. Never again. Shut down from everybody. And the crazy part about it, I told her in confidence because she shared something with me.
In confidence.
So I'm telling you this about me to make you feel better about something about you. And because you were unhappy with something, you decide to weaponize it. And the crazy part about it is she, most of the time when this happens, that person is not thinking about the long-term ramifications. They're thinking about winning the argument in that moment. They're thinking about just responding instead of listening. Yes. They make things worse and not realize it's worse. People live with the thought process, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we live like that. I'd rather you forgive me for telling the world what you told me more so than never saying anything at all. So a lot of times we don't want to share. Because those who we care and love the most made it feel unsafe to share. I am so big on creating a safe space. Mm-hmm. That is like literally my thing. I damn near will almost bend over backwards to make sure. It's like I have turned down clients to work with because of the connections that they have with somebody else, because I refuse to violate their safe space that I said I created.
Boundaries.
So I can be leaving thousands and thousands of dollars on the table because I promised a safe space and I wanted to honor that safe space.
That's deep.
It is.
Listen, you get me on chokehold. So
and you asked for this.
I know. I love our relationship because it's going to have to be a part 2. Part
probably,
3, part 4.
Right, it's got to be a series.
Yes, because
I'm an open book.
We're tapping over, like we're cracking. You know what they do, like that brulee or something. Like we're cracking the surface of something that most people don't understand. Like you talked about the emotional, tapping into the emotion of a Black man,
right?
And I talked about this with it was Pastor Locke when I was saying like my child was 4,
right?
And they're telling my baby who's 4. Don't cry. Daddy wants you to be strong. Cry. You're sad. Use your emotions.
But that is a taught response that we as Black men,
men period, stay in the house.
There's a lot of stuff that's Black. People call them generational curses.
Yes.
I kind of hate that because it's not really a curse in my opinion. It's just we got to unlearn. We've been miseducated in a lot of stuff. And one of the things is how our emotions should be conveyed. Society wants you to feel like the only 2 emotions you should ever have is happiness or sadness.
Yeah.
There's a whole spectrum of emotions that we are supposed to experience. That is a normal, natural human thing. You're allowed to get angry. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be depressed. You're allowed to do all these different things. You are supposed to experience the whole rainbow of emotions in your everyday life. You should never not be able to do anything, because that emotion helps us understand how you feel and what needs to be done next in regards to it. The realest movie that I have ever watched in my life was Inside Out.
I was gonna say something about that.
Okay. Inside Out, but more importantly, Inside Out 2. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Inside Out 2.
That's the
Because the first one, I say it was a very impactful movie. I made sure the girls watched it. And then even after we watched it, we sat and we kind of dissected the conversation about what you've seen. Because to me, sadness was constantly pushed away.
Yeah.
Sadness was constantly being treated as if it was a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now my youngest, that's my emotional butterfly. Like when I tell you she goes through all spectrums of emotion, you're going to get all of them. And she's not going to hide her emotion. And sadness, frustration, and confusion all exist on the same plane with her. Okay? They all exist on the same plane with her. And she expresses it. But the reason why the second one is so impactful, because anxiety is something she deals with a lot. Now, my oldest was definitely, she's me. So I see a mirror of my childhood with her. So I see the joy that I could have had if a few things were just tweaked coming up. Okay. But my youngest is literally every emotion I avoided. Okay. So everything about me, I see, but I see it on the ways that my mom may have seen it.
Okay.
So that's also why I give my mom grace. So even though we had that conversation about like, look, you could do little things a little bit better, but I also see how you would have seen me.
Right.
My kids are complete opposite of each other, so I get the full spectrum of me and the full spectrum of their moms. It depends on which one is going to do it that day. Okay. But with her, anxiety is a heavy factor in her everyday life. Okay. She unfortunately is a pandemic kid. She started kindergarten in pandemic. Her baby sister started Head Start at the age of 3. So she went through the whole Head Start program, educated, taught, gave all the advances, grew up on Daniel Tiger, so she know how to navigate her feelings. She's 100% self-sufficient kid. Okay. My youngest, on the other hand, she expected to get the same experience as her sister. Unfortunately, she didn't. She, as a child, she had to get rushed to the hospital in regards to a medical situation, had a bad experience with the nurse. She ended up having to be put into daycare. Unfortunately, she experienced racism at a young age. And not only did she experience it, she knew what it was. Okay. She understood, she experienced it, she went through it, she lived it. Okay. So it was all, something. Then when she finally did get a chance to go to school like a normal child, she was on a computer.
Wow.
Because it was during the pandemic. She experienced kindergarten through a computer. Do you
Which
know?
Was not the norm.
It was not the norm. It's not natural.
It's not.
And the crazy thing is, kindergarten is when you learn your social skills.
Yes.
It's when you learn to play well with others and learn to
being kind,
right,
and understanding your emotions.
Exactly. She didn't get that. It was on a computer. So now, when she does finally get to go back into the classroom, she's not going to a standard school. Her sister went to a predominantly black school, so she's seen black faces all the time. She got selected to be into Spanish immersion, so now she goes into a multi-language school.
Got it.
So now she's learning languages and all kind of things, and she's mixing with a lot of people and experiencing life. Unfortunately, because the way the school system works, when one kid is in, all the kids can go there. So to make life easier on us, my youngest went there too. That's not what she wanted to do. You're not going to teach me English. I have to recover all the skills I didn't learn in kindergarten, and you're forcing a new language on me that I don't want to take. My child had high anxiety. She spent her whole entire first grade not talking to anybody outside the household. My youngest has terrible social skills. She
Mm,
doesn't communicate with nobody if she don't want to. And I understand that. I work with my baby in regards to that. But that anxiety, seeing that episode, seeing that Inside Out 2, it allowed society as a whole to see not
yeah.
only what anxiety could look
Yes.
and feel
Yes.
like, but how unintentionally anxiety can take over. And
Absolutely.
it's not even taking over because, "Ooh, I'm nervous, I'm scared, all these bad things are going to happen to me." No, your anxiety is taking over because you're trying to protect yourself.
Mhm.
You're just trying to be back to who you were. So I have to work with my child, and we're working with my youngest, that perfection is not necessary. Her biggest fear right now is she don't ever want to fail at anything.
Ooh,
And it's like, who put this in your head?
put that responsibility
And
on
then I had to sit back and think about it.
you. Mm.
Your mom is one of the biggest nurses at her job. She can't fail. So you don't know what failure looked like from her. Daddy runs a whole business. When you come to see daddy, you only see him when he's putting the final pieces of everything together, when he's coaching people, when he's doing all these positive, great looking things. So daddy doesn't fail. Lily is the top of her class. She's outspoken. Everybody loves and prays. Like when they were in school together, you would always hear about the great things your sister can do. And I had to sit back and was like, you want to be a perfectionist because nobody failed around you yet.
Ah,
And you don't understand that we all failed a lot, but you never got to see
yeah.
it. And it's like, wait a minute, that's what social media does as well too.
I'm just gonna look over here.
Social media doesn't let you see that you failed.
Mm-mm. No,
You can't see where people fall apart. You can't see where
no,
people be bad. Photos don't even look bad.
no. Talk
Okay.
about a good filter, baby. You better
Right.
get that right angle.
Right. Photos don't even look bad. So my child is literally just living life. So now I have the opportunity
Wow.
on two levels to help somebody understand that it's okay to be a failure directly in my home and now with my business. So, yeah.
Ooh. See, y'all, this is the conversation that I
You asked for this.
embrace. I'm definitely about to do a part two with this man. I want you to share with us like a, a quick lesson that you've learned
Okay.
through your healing process
Quick lesson that I learned. Shit.
to about
I've,
healing your growth or
I've damn near told
finding your
you.
voice.
I've definitely told you my whole lesson on this whole episode.
Yeah.
This whole episode is my lesson.
Ooh, come on now.
No, be honest with you. This whole episode, everything is like literally what I've learned about myself. The one lesson I had to learn is you're never going through something by yourself. You just may not be going it through the same way they are. We all experience life differently. We
Yeah.
all go through things differently. But the one thing I've learned, especially from my business, is we all have the same story. We just are being told from a different kind of a book.
Yeah.
There's 12 different Harry Potter books. That doesn't mean that Harry is not still the same Harry in all those books. It's just different things are happening to Harry throughout the whole entire book. There's a different trial and tribulation he's going through. So you may be book 4 while I'm still book 2. That doesn't mean that we're still not on the same path. You know, that's one thing I learned. Number 2, don't be afraid to tell somebody, nigga, I'm hurting. Because you saying it may help 12 other people say, you know what, I'm hurting too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Okay.
if you follow me on social media, you may notice like my page has shifted 97% to like mental health awareness. It is not just because it's mental health awareness month. That's just been my whole thing lately, period. Since I've been on my own journey. I'm like, yeah, here's some things about me you need to know because you might be doing this. Here's some things that you need to know. Hey, did you know that if you tend to have stomach pains all the time, you might actually be stressing?
Yeah.
Do you know that 97% of the time when you hungry, you may not be hungry, you might be, dehydrated. Like, hey, nigga, stop drinking soda.
Right.
And
That's
even
a-
then, as I'm going on my own health journey, see, a lot of y'all don't see me on others. I looked at bigger than I am now. So, um, so I'm being on this side of the camera, I can see the difference now. Uh,
Okay.
but even while I'm going on my health journey, I started learning a lot of things. Like a lot of your physical ailments that you deal with is mental.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Mind
So
sometimes it's mind over matter.
it is. So as I stopped carrying stress, stop carrying problems that didn't matter, stop holding on to old issues that are not going to be resolved, I started noticing my sleep getting better, my mind being cleared. I'm not having so many migraines. I'm not being tired all the time. As I started to let a lot of stuff go that I had no control over, I actually had no problem eating better, getting up, working out, resting, moving around, drinking better, except for sodas. That's my look. That's my weakness.
Kryptonite.
That'd be weakness. Like I tell people about my workout journey and me getting better and going to the track and going to the gym. And when I fell, like I was on a 13-day clean eating fast. I felt because wings was 75 cents on Wednesday. Do you know what? I didn't just go like that. I fell. Let me start over. You know what I did? I went online. It's like, man, I was eating good for 13 days straight, but I felt I got back to day one. It was like, what happened? What happened? It's like, man, I lost the 75-cent wings.
Listen.
And you know what people told me? First of all, hey, where were they at? That was first.
Where can we get them?
We can get
I'm
them.
here for it.
And then the second thing was, hey, it happens to all of us.
But you did it.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. So hearing those things made me be like, you know what? I don't feel so bad that I failed.
Yes.
So failing didn't feel bad because you know what I did the next day? I went back and got chicken again. So like, look, I'm already off the wagon right now. Let me just get it out of my system. But then Friday came around and I was like, okay.
Friday.
Friday came back around. I was like, okay, let me get back to let me do my detox. Let me do my cleanse. Let me do my fruit smoothies. Yeah. Then I got back to getting on because I didn't feel bad that I failed. 13 days, like 13 days of eating clean. That's an accomplishment for some people.
Yeah.
You know, no sodas, no junk food, minimizing the sugar, changing what you're using as certain ingredient, like all feeling it, like that's a big deal. And then even then, my friends who always joke with me was like, hey, bro, did you take the skin off the chicken? Like, look, bro, that's where the seasoning was. You know what, bro? How many wings did you get? Like they didn't make it feel like, oh, bro, you did that. It's like, nah, man, just, next time just do 6. Then my fitness coach was like, hey, chicken's cool. You good? Like, oh, okay.
Don't tempt me of a good time now.
Chicken's cool. Okay, there we go. Next Wednesday, I know where I'll be at, but I'll make sure I do something different on the side. It was like, just make sure and then when I did that, a lot of my health nutritious people came up. It's like, hey, you had wings that day. That's cool. But what you do for dinner? Did you alternate it? For breakfast, do you do this instead? Hey, why don't you switch to maybe a protein shake in the morning, have your chicken at lunch or whatever food you're going to have, but then at dinner, do something like they gave me alternatives. I stopped being selfish with my struggle and I shared it with the world. And now my struggle wasn't a struggle. It was more of a corrective path now. So, yeah, that's what I learned. Share your struggle. Stop being selfish with it.
And so anyone that have lost anything, that have lost relationships, that have lost employment, lost or even like their sense of wealth, this testimony that you're giving is really just an eye opener from an entrepreneur standpoint.
Okay.
From a father standpoint, from a health standpoint. Like you're giving so many nuggets today, and I really appreciate you coming out here.
No problem. Let me say this about the loss because I completely forgot about that. Don't ever look at a loss as a loss. Look at it as a pivot. I give you a prime example.
Yes. We try to wrap up the show.
I know, but this one is here. Look at it. I got to get this one out. Look at it as a pivot. Since I'm already dropping gems and being honest about it, let me be honest with you. For those who don't know, you just started with me recently this past year, but up until January, I used to be a part of Sherman Phoenix Marketplace. I moved in December from Sherman Phoenix Marketplace to partner here with Duke at Everyday Media, and now we're in this space. I'm actually happy to be here because my growth has become major. But that change wouldn't have happened if I didn't have to make a pivot. I ended up leaving the banking industry. I ended up losing my job abruptly in the banking industry. I also learned from my last mistake of losing a job. One, I have this business, so I had something to keep my mind occupied, which was just a blessing within itself. But I had to make a tough decision at that time too. I had to decide, what did I want to do. I knew I wasn't going to have the kind of income I had coming in to handle home responsibilities as well as handle business responsibilities. So I sat down with Sherman Phoenix and I told them, like, hey, I'm going to have to move because I just lost my job. They said, cool, we understand. When are you trying to move out? It's like, I'll move out at the end of the year. As soon as I get a job, the last couple of months I still owe you guys. I'll work out a payment plan. I'll get that cleared up. I'm not going to leave a debt with you. During that time frame, I had already been having a conversation with Dooch, and he told me about this opportunity. I followed up with him. It's like, hey, let's do that. He said, cool, come on. It is New Year's Eve. Dooch reached out to me. Okay. The landlord said, cool, we good to go. We get to move in. I just need your security deposit and your first month's half of the rent, and we can have the keys by tomorrow. Taking consideration, I still had people that needed to record. I still had shows I needed to do. I sent the mass text to my staff and says, hey, for those who've been with me for a while, every year around about the holiday, the last 2 weeks of December, we don't record. We shut down. We enjoy ourselves. I had some that are not used to stopping. They want to keep going. It's like, for those who I've had conversations with about recording, we'll still do that.
Right.
I reached out to a lot of different locations. I was like, hey, I need to do a pop-up recording. Can I do it? Sure, come on through. How many you need to do? I only do a couple of them. Had those squared away, so they were good. I didn't know where I was going to get the money I needed for my portion of the rent and deposit. I picked up the phone. Chose not to suffer in silence anymore. When I tell you, I called, I texted, I emailed, I reached out to every single person on my staff, every friend, every favor I owed. Not only did I come up with the money within a 24-hour time frame, I also picked up 4 new clients.
Oh,
okay.
Come on, sir.
So I say that not because I didn't end up getting a job until February. So even though in January, I'm still not working. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to stress on the job thing. Even though I'm out here putting feelers, I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting interviews, nothing. I'm not going to stress. You want to know why? Because the job I'm supposed to have is going to fall in place because I've already made the decision that my brand needs me right now. Moved in here. If you wasn't a part of me yet, but literally it was just a round table in the room. The same round table I moved with, and we recorded shows, and people still came in. Then I got the job. I say that to say, if I would have fought to stay in Sherman Phoenix and fought to keep what I was going there, my level of growth would not be where it is. Not only did I grow my brand by being in a new space, I got what I said I needed to get. I got the secondary place to record. So those who watch us, they know we have green screen recordings. So there are some people that are over there. Me and Dooch has a partnership. We were already friends, but now we collaborate on a lot of stuff. We have conversations and we reach different people that we probably wouldn't have gotten to each other if we were separately. We're doing conferences. We're going overseas. I'm doing consultations. I've expanded everything about how I run my business now. I've pivoted everything of how I used to do my business, all because I did not choose to suffer in silence. And now everything is growing like it's supposed to. But that's enough talking for me, though, because we'll keep going. And I have a business to run.
So I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
There will be another part 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, because we're cracking the surface.
Yes, we'll have a different conversation.
For our Black men to understand, you don't have to selfishly suffer. And that's definitely something that we're going to dive into deep more. But as always, as I get ready to close out, I always want to just remind you, you will not give up. You will not commit suicide. You will not abort what God has predestined in your life for your life. You will always see the light at the end of the tunnel. Why? Because we're not giving up. And because of who you are, God is ready for you to just go into the next level. And as always, we thank you. And we want to see you come again, right, Mr. Tone?
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And we'll gladly see you on our next podcast. Thank you. Have a good day.
Peace.